kids. Like, that's so weird. Someone calls me mum. It's crazy. I think that that's just something that it's more about accepting that it doesn't feel real, or that I just think it happens one day when you're like having a really mundane, normal moment that someone goes mom, and you're like, I'm the adult now. Okay, how to find quality female friends. I would say that the best way to do things that your brain knows. I definitely get this every single day. And I think that this whole question is about, will I get a job? Will I this? Will I that? It's all about future worries. So try and do nervous system regulation every day at the moment and remind yourself that you don't know. And I would ask myself the question, if the worst case happens, what can I do about it? Like, what is actually in my control, and why is everything going to be okay? So if the worst case happens and you don't get a job for ages, or you're lonely, like, actually ask yourself, okay, what is in my control with these things? What can I do about it? And why am I going to be okay even if they happen? Like, okay, if I don't get a job for a really long time, it's going to be really hard, but I'm going to be okay because eventually I will get one. And if I feel lonely, it'll be really hard, but I will find people that I can be connected to. I can put more effort in with certain people who are closer to me, and like, remind your brain that even if the worst case happens, you're going to be okay. It might not be nice, it might not be roses, it might not be straight away, but you have to let your anxious brain know that even if the worst case happens, there are still things in your control and you are going to be okay. When you first met your husband, were you attracted to him immediately? I feel like I've never experienced being attracted to someone. I'm a crush, so I don't know what it's like. I mean, I personally, like, I thought he was like hot, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm so attracted to you, because I was with somebody else and I was so like certain that I was going to marry that person because I'm delulu and had low standards for myself. But so I don't necessarily, like, I've never really had someone that I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm wow, like, in the, like, straight away. But I don't think you need to have that to have a long-term successful relationship. Sometimes not falling in love and like choosing to go into love creates a more sustainable relationship. But you know, you could ask yourself a few things like, are you doing anything to get in your own way here? Like, are you putting yourself out there? Are you actually engaging with, you know, people in the right way to try and like have like a possibility like that open up to you? How have you curated your personal style over the years? When did you discover what you like to wear the most? I reckon that my personal style very much over the years went with like whatever was happening around me up until about 2 years ago, I would say. Probably when I kind of settled into my own a little bit more and my style really changed to like Stockholm kind of fashion, or like old money is like classy and stylish all in one. And I'm not saying that I nail this like at all, but the vibe that I like is very much like sleek, classy, but still like sexy, but classy sexy. So, you know, I'm wearing like a tight white top. I mean, comfy clothes right now, but like, let's say I was wearing this tight white top, you can still see like the lace of a bra a little bit, but I'm not going to wear like a low cut white top. Or like my hair, I will either like, you know, have it out like you guys all love, or I'll have like a sleek bun. I don't really have like messy anymore, and my jewelry is very like simple and dainty and like refined, and I don't wear very much of it, and I don't buy very much jewelry. It's like when I buy something, it's expensive, and it's because I've wanted that piece for like ages, and I saved up specifically for that one piece to add to my collection. I don't go and buy like a lot of it at all. And so I think that that's like my overall thing with like my fashion sense is like, I like it to look classy and stylish. Stylish is such a stupid word to use when we're talking about style, but anyway, I've really settled into that in the last few years, especially since becoming a mum. Like, the shorts I wear, they're all like a little bit longer, more like suit pants looking shorts, and like like suit pants. I love wearing like that look, like suit pants and stuff. And yeah, so I think dress so well, but they don't look like over the top and like dolled up. They just look like understated but like classy, and that's the kind of look that I go for, and I just feel really comfortable with that because I still feel hot for my husband, but I also feel like appropriate around the kids. I don't know if this makes sense, and it was such a fucking long answer for this question, but my style definitely has changed a lot, and the last 2 years it stayed the same, and I feel very comfortable in it. So I don't know if this is girl talk, but could you talk about your journey through psychology and how you knew that it was what you wanted? I also live in Australia. I think you become a clinical psych or something within psychology. So people ask me about this a lot, so I think it's a good question. But basically, this mic. Okay, so I did a 3 years Bachelor of Psychology, then I did a 1 year honours in psychology, and then I did a 2 years Masters in psychology, and that is the minimum that you need to do in Australia to become a psychologist. If you want to be a clinical psychologist, you have to do an extra year after that. And I did, I don't really like saying the universities that I went to, just for like security reasons, like identity reasons, but I loved the process a lot. I found it really, really fun, and I love being a psychologist. I feel like now in my career I'm moving away from like one-on-one therapy and doing a lot more like bigger scale kind of stuff, which is a really fun transition, and I love that with psychology it's so versatile. You don't have to just be like locked into one type of practice. How to deal with expectations of our own personal views and family members in terms of everything. That's very broad. I think expectations of family members, it's really hard. You have to grow comfortable with putting in boundaries and grow comfortable with family members and people maybe not liking what you decide to do, and just saying like people are allowed to feel however they want to feel, and that doesn't mean that I need to change what I'm doing. I think that's the biggest thing with other people's expectations and with your own. I think just like checking in with yourself every couple of months of like, are these realistic expectations, and are they, even if they are these expectations causing me stress, or are they pushing me in a good way? And if they're causing you stress, maybe reevaluate like the time frame that you've put on them, or maybe really reevaluate if there's another way of doing them, because I think that expectations should push us and make us strive for things, but they should not make us feel stressed, especially our own one. And I would also suggest always checking in on your self-talk, making sure that you're speaking to yourself with as most love and respect as you possibly can. Okay, focus on putting yourself out there and not needing the answer to be yes, just putting yourself out there. And I think that if first impressions have been already made and you're not happy with them, all people need is evidence and enough of it, and their mind will change. So just keep showing up as the real person that you wanted them to see and interpret, and eventually that is who will replace the original impression. I think that, you know, people just need like 1 or 2 times of seeing something different and they're like, oh, okay. Most of the time people are so busy thinking about themselves that if you show them something good, they're just like, okay, that's how we feel about that person now. Om du har ett emergency kit i din väska, kanske du kan visa det. So that is, if you have like an emergency kit in your bag, maybe you can show it. Damn. I wonder if I should answer this in Swedish, because the person who wrote it might not be able to speak English. I never know. Okay, I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna answer it in Swedish. Someone can translate. Jag har det är jobbigt för min handväska är där nere. Men i min handväska så har jag en liten väska som har ett par tamponger, en penna, några hårband, en läppsyl, några bandage, alltså inte bandage, ja, heter det bandage? Like band-aid. Och tror jag det är allt. Japp, och sen har jag en annan liten väska som en mamma som har en blöja och wipes och en botta. En napp. Jag kallar det för en botta. Det kan jag förklara i en annan film, men en napp. Det är en botta, för när jag var liten så sa jag alltid botta, för den var borta. I vilket fall. Och en flaska vatten. Jag har alltid en flaska vatten i min handväska. Japp, det är det enda typ emergency jag har. Så det är typ väldigt kvinnasaker, men också mammasaker. I don't know what to do because I've had this friend that I've had since like prep, and she's starting to get super mean and gets mad at little things I do. I want to try and drift away. I feel like I answered this question. I think it doesn't matter how she reacts, you still deserve to put in your boundaries. So that's not me saying like how she reacts might not upset you. It might, absolutely. It might be really uncomfortable that she gets annoyed or angry or whatever. But you can learn to sit with that. It is more important for us to be okay with being like uncomfortable with how somebody's feeling than it is to keep staying in something that doesn't make us happy. Because short-term pain, long-term gain, you know what I mean? And I also think it's normal for our friendships to like grow and shift and change. And like that's just a part of life, and you might look back on this later on and be like, why did I care so much? But it makes so much sense that you care now. So I would say my biggest piece of advice is learn to say to yourself, this is so uncomfortable, but I can do it cycle. So like just before my, like the week before my period and like during my period, I like to work less. I like to do very low impact exercise like walking, that kind of thing, and have very low expectations on myself of what I need to get done. And then the week after my period and the week after that, I do more high intensity stuff and I try and get as much work done as I can, that kind of thing. So I think helping it go to your cycle can definitely work. If you have your period, I don't know. I think it can also help by, you know, having your like to-do list, but being kind with yourself about it. So you maybe have two, you might have one, which is I have to get this done, and then one which is I'm gonna try my best to get it done, but it's okay if I don't. I think that helps. And I think reminding yourself that accomplishments is like a feeling, so celebrate the small wins. Like I will celebrate that I like made the bed, and like I will write down everything to be able to tick off, because I think that emotion of being accomplished is really important. So I like to like make everything something that I can tick off. And my daily routine, like the things that I like to get done each day is I like to have some me time in some way, shape or form, even if it's just my cup of tea. I like to get exercise in some way, shape or form, even if it's just a walk. I like to have some connecting time with my husband. I like to get some work done, and by some, like a good way to live life is by saying like I am the kind of person that, and being the kind of person that does something. Like let's say I am the kind of person that reads every day. Reading one sentence and reading 5 chapters, you're still the kind of person that reads every day. So maybe have a think about the kind of person that you want to be and engaging in tasks that way, because then there's not this pressure and expectation on yourself to like meet like a set level. It's more about being the kind of person that does these things, and I loved that like mindset shift. Advice for dating: it's so bland on dating apps, and I don't have patience for immaturity, irresponsibility, so I get tired of it easily. If you have dating burnout, stop, have a pause, have a break, don't date for a few months. My biggest piece of advice. Second one being, try and make a conscious effort to talk to like whatever sex that it is that you're interested in the places that you already hang out, like your gym, the classes you do, like whatever, because you might find that meeting someone organically in that way is actually let me put this on my cup so that it's a mix of gum and no gum. Yeah, try it naturally, you might like that. And then sometimes this is such a stereotype, because I know that there are definitely younger men that prove me wrong, but sometimes I'm like, just make the age higher of who you're looking for. I'm in my 20s, I haven't dated anyone long term yet. While my friends are getting married and most of them are in relationships, I have dated one in school 8 to 9 years ago. This person cheated on me multiple times, and I've kind of lost faith in relationships. I do want to find love and be loved. Whenever I'm talking stage, if I see any kind of small red flag, I leave. Do you think it's normal, or am I being too independent? Do you think I'll ever find love? I definitely gosh, my nose. Oh no, I hope I'm not too late. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant and stressed. Any advice on motherhood or labour or finding time for yourself postpartum? I feel like this could be a whole video. Definitely could. I think congratulations. That's super exciting. I completely understand the mix of emotions. I would say remember with motherhood that everything is a phase, even if the phase lasts for like 2 years, which like I don't feel that they do, but I just more meant like if your brain's anxious and you're like, but it's gonna last so long, even if it lasts so long, we think we're like, oh my god, 2 years is so long. That is like 0.5% of the life that we have with our kids. So, or our own life. So I think it's like important to remind ourselves of that. Everything is a phase. It will pass, even if it's really hard. And it's like great to acknowledge that it's hard in those moments, but acknowledging to ourselves that it will pass and it will be this much of our whole lives. And so that brings me comfort when I'm in the trenches. I try and find something that I'm grateful for within each day, but that is not me denying the times that are hard. Like I acknowledge what I'm struggling with 100%, but I also try and find things at the end of the day that I'm really grateful for. Making time for yourself. I think you and your husband or partner, whoever you have, should pre-plan together, and the plan will change as the baby goes through different stages, but about how to support you both getting solo time. So important. And it might start with just that you get to have a cup of tea every day by yourself for 10 minutes. You know, like these moments of self-time don't have to be grand. If we try and make them grand, like going to the gym or something, we'll find them impossible to do. If we make them small, like I get to drink my tea, or I get to read my book, or I get to journal, or I get to watch trash or whatever, not being in parent mode for 10 minutes. Start small and then you can add in more if you can, but make it a team effort to try. I think motherhood is the best fucking thing in the world, and I love it so much, and it brings me so much joy, but I completely understand that it's also really stressful. Which steps have you taken to finding self-love? Therapy, both talk therapy and Reiki, like bodywork therapy, just reflecting on things myself, talking to my husband about things that come up, and consciously and actively like regulating my nervous system and challenging my inner critic and my core beliefs. Would love to see your thoughts on how to prioritize personal growth while in your 20s without feeling discouraged. I'm in college working full-time and feel behind. I tend to be extremely hard on myself. Accomplishments as obligations, and I'm constantly moving on to the next goal. Again, I think every answer here is like therapy, fucking the best thing in the world, journaling, so you can catch your inner critic and so you can change it. It will not change if you don't consciously do it. You have to catch it and you have to say that it's not my voice. What else could I say to myself right now? It takes that conscious effort to do that. Exploring different kinds of therapy, you know, Reiki for example is phenomenal because a lot of our trauma is stored in our bodies and not with words. So I love that. Understanding that, like, just being mindful of this and even asking this question is hugely amazing, and you should be so proud of yourself. But like, I think most of my self-growth didn't happen until I was like 30. So don't rush. It's okay. I promise you. Any hair care tips, specifically keeping your hair healthy after being in the sun all day at the beach? I live near the beach and hair struggles to stay healthy and fluffy like yours does. Thank you. I only wash my hair once a week. really harness, and you can just, I don't know, like a goddess, and I adore that. I think it's amazing. Hopefully that made sense. How did you know your husband was the one, and how did you decide if you want kids or not? Love you. I decided my husband was the one when I realized when we were going on dates that I was like, holy shit, we connect in every way. Like, he really wants to listen to me and learn from me and takes like influence from me. I admire him in every way. Like, I just kind of felt like we laugh till our stomachs hurt. He makes me feel so amazing about myself, and I'm obsessed in him. So I think it was like this equal playing field of going, how he makes me feel about myself and how I feel about him is phenomenal. Like, I got to this point where I was like, I genuinely couldn't say who loves the other one more, and that is how I kind of knew. And I always knew I wanted kids, so I'm not very helpful with that question. I absolutely adore you so much. Could you maybe give 5 things in a man that should be a deal breaker? I'm 17, on my way to college, and extremely bad when making romantic choices. Being open to your influence. So if you have an expertise in something, or if you've looked into something, or if you care about something, have a passion about something, that they are open to hearing that from you and wanting to learn that from you. That they actually want to be influenced by you as well. That they want to communicate through whatever comes up, and that they want to do it with you. That you feel like you can trust them. That they are your biggest cheerleader and make you feel good about yourself. And I guess that you feel chemistry and connection with them. Hi, they're lovely. Love the channel so much. It's so safe. Yay. What do you do about losing lots of friends when you get into a relationship? Is it my fault? Well, I don't know, because I don't know how the situations have gone, but reflect on that. Have you stopped making effort with your friends? Have you started saying no to things more? Like, could you do anything different? And this might be a bit of column A, column B. And so you might reflect on that and go, yeah, I can do some things different. But then in some ways, it's important to acknowledge that when you're in a relationship, it's okay for it to be your priority. So it's okay for it to naturally change and for you to spend less time with your friends. So maybe just reflecting on, could I change something so that it's a little bit more balanced? But then also accepting that it's natural and normal. I think codependence is a really dangerous relationship. So making sure that you are interdependent, which means you have great connecting quality time together, but you also still have your independent lives and see your friends. If you are getting friendship time regularly, solo time regularly, and relationship time regularly, then great. But if not, reflect on what can maybe shift, and if it's probably your choosing and your doing, but if it's not, and it's because your friends don't like your partner, maybe it's about reflecting on 2 things. Why don't they? Could there maybe be something there? Could he maybe not be right for me? Or do I maybe have friends that aren't good for me, and that's something that I could change, and I could put conscious effort into people that do really love me and my partner. How to handle insecurities as a teenager, young adult advice. I would say speak to a therapist. I would say catch your inner critic. I would say finding out what your core beliefs are about life and about you. So reflecting on that. I would say nervous system regulation should be in every teen's daily routine. Absolutely. So that you can learn to let that nervous system feel safe. Thank you for doing these amazing videos, Mama. I'm having a long distance relationship with my boyfriend, and my recent mood sucks, to be honest. I'm feeling really lost. Your videos are helping me more than ever. Then you have a thing. Do you think any advice shit, sorry, our friends come to hang out. Like, do the same thing, but you're connecting time, and try and put conscious effort into still being like flirtatious in whatever way you feel comfortable with. Yeah, if like your love language is physical touch, for example, then that's pretty tough when you're like not actually together with each other, but trying to find ways around that. But all the other ones you can still do, like long distance. So please repeat my name in the video. I struggle extremely with OCD. Hi Ellie. Ellie. Would take any advice, as I don't think taking medication for a mental illness is the right answer. Each to their own. I think that it's at different levels. Like, I personally think that if you try and regulate your nervous system every single day, you've tried talk therapy, you've tried Reiki and like body work therapy, and it's not working and you still feel like it is crippling and negatively impacting your daily life, I personally would take medication, because I just think we all have a toolbox and it's just one tool in that toolbox, so why wouldn't we use every single tool that we could to work out which is most impactful for us? That's just my 2 cents. I'm really sorry that you are experiencing that. That is super, super overwhelming. And I think that if you really, really don't want medication, then I would just make sure that you are using every other tool in that toolbox. And nervous system regulation is amazing. And you guys could literally Google, how do I regulate my nervous system, and a million would come up. But I have talked about them in my anxiety support videos, like deep belly breathing, out breath longer than the in breath, exaggerated sighs, meditation, doing the 5 senses, cold showers, dipping your face in icy water, physical exercise. Like, there are so many. How did you know your husband was the one? I answered this. Comments are on the other post are off. I'm sorry, Grace, they had to go off because I had too many comments. Another one about the name. I'm sorry. Maybe not specifically girl talk, but I'd love to know who have been some of the most influential people in your life, and what were some of the biggest takeaways you've had from each of them. I think one of the coolest parts of gaining wisdom is sharing it from person to person. I'd love to hear some of the wisdom you've learned from people in your life, considering you have a vast level of wisdom at a young age. Oh, thank you so much. Most influential people. I'm gonna say the Reiki healer that I had in Sydney. She's also a psychologist. Hugely influential, because she helped me clear the trauma that was stored in my body, and it wasn't necessarily words of wisdom, it was actually the opposite, and it was like working with my body. And I kind of think that as someone who's really science-based like myself, the biggest word of wisdom there was shut the fuck up, Michaela, you know what I mean, and don't try and use your words, and instead feel this in your body. So yes, who else? My husband. And I guess again, a lot of the theme here is it's not words, it's feeling. Yeah, feeling. And it just made me feel so safe. And so I think that being around someone that makes you feel really safe is so influential to setting up the rest of your life. Wow, I really can't think of anyone else. They are the 2 biggest people in me becoming the happy and healthy person that I am today. There have been influential people in the other direction, but they are the 2 most influential for me becoming happy and healthy, and that's so beautiful to think about. Oh my god. bro, she farted.